And we are live. What's up, everybody? This is a special edition, quick show of, I'm even going to call it the Murph and Friends show. This is just Sacramento's finest two podcasters who are just getting together to talk a little Kings talk with 2 days left until the draft. Sorry I'm tan. I spray tan tonight, dude.
All good, man.
Okay, hold on. First, I'm albino, okay? I got part albino in me before I get into this. So we're going to San Diego in like 2 weeks, and my wife's friend is kind of doing her own spray tanning business, and she likes to like practice on people and try out whatever. So Teresa was like, all like,
what's your wife's friend's name?
The one who does the spray tan?
Yeah.
Her name's Margie.
Okay, because one of my friends just started up her own spray tan business
Okay.
in Folsom too. I was like, wait a minute.
Well, no, she's not based out of Fulton, but first of all, you don't understand the struggles it's been for me personally as a really white guy used to be tan when I was a kid, and then go and play baseball and wear socks, like high socks and stuff, and completely lose the tan, and I could never get it back on my legs. So going to San Diego the last couple of years is embarrassing when you're by the pool and everybody's like all tan and good looking and stuff, and then I'm that guy who you can't tell if I took off my white shirt or not.
Right. That's how I am too.
So I decided to go ahead and go spray tan, and it went so dark.
Looks a little dark. Looks like
Hold
you've
on.
been out in the sun for a while.
Hold on, I don't want to. Okay. I don't. Okay. Okay. See that?
You can't
Yeah.
get down too low.
I'm not used to being tan. Okay, I would show you my butt, but I will lose nobody who's watching us. So let's just.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay. Let me not get into too much. This is Mr. Chief 916 Greg. Everybody in Sacramento knows him through Crown Downtown commercials. I saw you in the Rudy Gay coming to Sacramento off an airplane picture and
Yep.
everything else. He's got his own podcast, very successful podcast, right? What is it called? It's called I'll Let You with Sports Talk 916.
Sports Talk 916. I don't know if I'd go with very successful. I'd go with a lot of money invested into a mediocre success rate. But
Hold on. What the hell is this you made? Sorry. Fuck. Okay, dude, come on. You got a good following, I'm sure, right? And you do it with who's your co-host?
With Eddie, host Eddie. It's getting better. We're getting better. We've had some interruptions as of late. We haven't done a show in about a week and a half, 2 weeks now, but
Been there, done that.
we're getting better.
Yeah.
We're getting a good following. We got a T-shirt sponsor. We got some stickers made. We got some stuff going. So it's going.
And where can you get a T-shirt from you guys if someone wants to get a T-shirt?
Just hit me up on Twitter at SportsTalk916 or at Mr. Chief 916, or Facebook. Either way, I can get you guys a T-shirt and a window decal for your car.
Nice. And I saw you're part of that Lyft program now.
I am
How's
driving
that?
for Lyft. It's actually kick-ass, dude. It's so much fun.
Is it really? How many people you just meet random? I mean, how many people have you taken around Sacramento so far?
So I started Monday night. I've driven 4 nights now, and I'm at 37.
Are there any like just drunk people who just tell you to lift them, pick them up, and take them to another party or a bar?
Oh yeah, man. Downtown is the spot where it happens.
Awesome.
I've only had one guy that I was extremely concerned about. He was like, he was one of those people where you keep one eye on him at all times. I was just like so worried he was gonna puke in my back seat, so I made sure to bust ass to get him where he needed to go. And then
Hey, on your thing, if you want people, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. On your thing, do you see the Hangout toolbox so you can put your name on there?
Yep.
Yeah, select that so you can get your thing on there so people can know where to find you.
Gotta remember how to do that, but yeah, I'll get it.
It's on the little
it is.
toolbox to your left, and then you hit the circle, the small circle face, and then there you go. Now I can see it.
I'll change this up here. But yeah, man, one guy that was just scary, and a lot of drunk girls that I have to remind that I'm married and they leave me alone, which is kind of different. But it's not too bad. It's actually a lot of fun. I made some good money my first week, so I could not complain at all.
Nice. And you have to drive your own car?
Yeah, you
And it
drive
has to
your
be
own
a
car.
certain kind?
2000 or newer, good condition, things like that. But It's pretty good. It works out really nice. It's I work 36 hours my first week, and
Wow.
I have $510 coming into my account tomorrow.
Wow. Nice, dude. And this is on top of like your other job you do.
Yeah, it's on top of my regular
Nice.
9 to 5.
Well, good for you, man. That's cool. Uh, anyways, tonight I reached out to Greg. It felt like get two different kind of viewpoints of two different kind of podcasters and talk about how huge it's going to be in a couple days. And this is the first real. It feels like the first real off season, right? That the Kings are facing with. I mean, I know they had last year in just the draft, but I mean, this is like the first full year where they had all year, and Pete
This,
D'Alessandro has like a full year to really like make a decision with fixing the team by changing. Are we trading a pick? Are we not? And it's this is the first relief. I mean, last year felt like a relief, but it felt like it was still in like shock that we kept the team and we kept the draft pick. But now it's just like it feels like Sacramento's been involved in every rumor about
yeah,
trades
crazy.
and everything. So I want to get your viewpoint on what you feel so far with everything that's been going on with how about the Grantland? Did you get a chance to watch the Grantland? Is it Grantland thing that put out where they did that 16 people
Yeah,
and they
that was
kind of
cool as hell. That was way cool. I'm kind of pissed off that I didn't apply for it. I mean,
I
I
didn't even
don't.
know about it.
I would not even match up to any of the intellect and intelligence that those guys that they have in there. They started talking about like, oh yeah, I ran this analytical comparison of all the draft picks from 1985 to now, and
Yeah.
this is, I was just like over my head. I was done with it. But no, it's cool that they're actually listening to the fan voice, and I guess they're going to bring four of those guys in to the actual draft room Thursday,
So
and
what,
really
what
have
was
them
the
crunch numbers.
process of that? I didn't even know that there was something you can sign up, and it's not even people based out of Sacramento, right?
Yeah, no, it was it went out to I think I thought it was a season ticket holder thing, but then all these
Yeah.
people from outside of the area came into it. I think really just it was Kings fans on their website. They had a chance to apply to try to be in the draft room. So,
But
um, you
I
know,
mean, like you were saying, like I was like totally 100% jealous. I was like, man, I would have loved to have done something like that. And then I started watching it, and then I'm seeing some of these guys and the information they provided and stuff. I'm like, well, hold up. This
yeah,
is
like
this
I
is
would have
more
felt
technical than I thought. I thought I was just gonna sit here with no shirt on and hey, what's up, Pete? Yeah, you shouldn't do that. No,
I would have been so out of place. Like one of the guys was like, "Oh yeah, you don't want to draft Marcus Smart because his poor percentage and he doesn't shoot well from this angle in the court." To me, my response would have been, "Don't draft Marcus Smart because he's Keith Smart's son." Like that would have been my whole reason, and I
hold
would have
up.
been
Is he
so out
really
of place.
Keith Smart's son?
Yes, it's really his son.
The Keith Smart we had.
Yeah, the terrible coach we had 2 years ago.
See now, yeah, I did not even know that. My whole thing is like I see. This is why I like having you on because now we can have like a little small disagreement because I actually like Marcus Smart. I know he has just a crazy attitude problem and
Right.
he's not the best outside shooter. But I mean, the fact that his defense that he actually played in college and he does have intelligence on the court. He does have very good basketball IQ. But I agree. It's one of those guys that it's kind of you're taking a chance on him because you don't know what you're going to get with him. You don't know if he's going to be a head case, which maybe with Malone head cases like look at DeMarcus. We all know what kind of head case he kind of was, and I felt like this was his 16 technicals was a lot or plus 16 whatever you might have 17, but he still played a lot better this year than he has with any other coach.
Yeah, and the thing is too. I mean, I'm high on Marcus Smart. I think he's going to be a really good player in this league. But the whole Keith Smart thing just really bugs me. But it's just if we're really gonna give up Isaiah, who's a great scoring point guard, I don't know why we would bring in a guy who can't shoot the ball because that
Yeah.
would just take away a whole dynamic. Like, yeah, he's pass first, and we definitely need that, but we can't really go much younger at point guard. We have to bring in a veteran point, because we have Ray McCallum, who I think honestly is going to be our point guard of the future.
But
In a
right
couple,
now,
in a couple of years, maybe in another year. I don't know if we could bring in a rookie point and have McCallum, whatever rookie it is, unless it's Jabari Parker, and Jason Terry is our third option at point guard if he's even around. I just don't think
Yeah.
that's a feasible option.
They obviously brought him over to use him in salary or a trade to make up the difference for salary. He was never going to be on this roster, I don't think. I
Yeah,
mean, but let me ask you what your gut feeling is on Isaiah then. Do you think he'll stay? You know what's funny to me is I was on this set thing where I thought the guy was going to get anywhere from $8 to $10 million a year from some team.
yep.
And when Sam Amick came out and said basically he's been hearing he's only going to get 4 to 5. Of course we're gonna match 4 to 5.
I just don't buy that. The Kings apparently said that they're going to match up to 6, a reasonable offer up to 6. For some reason, to me, I think that Chicago, the Lakers, or New York is going to come in and they're going to throw 8 to 10 at him. And I think the Kings kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit by putting out that $6 million limit that they're going to spend because, they could have easily serviced a sign and trade with someone with other teams thinking that they may spend more, be willing to spend more on him. I don't think Isaiah's going to be back as much as people want him to be back. I think it'd be good for him to be back in a sense. Like $4 or $5 million, like 4-year, $20 million deal, I think would be perfect. But I just don't see him back in a Kings uniform next season. And what hurts me the most about that is I know that if he goes to a Western Conference team, he's going to score 50 on us 4 games a year.
What's crazy to me is like I love Isaiah Thomas. Okay, I call him like he's your modern day like Johnson from the Pistons when the microwave where he can instantly come off and score 20 whatever. And what I'm trying to get at is I liked Isaiah if we kept him in like a 6-man role like a Bobby Jackson off the bench kind of
Right.
scored. I feel like the Kings have enough scoring with Rudy Gay and Boogie Cousins, and it was nice for that little stretch where it was him. Boogie throwing the jersey up.
Right. You have to throw that away.
No, I'll do it. Don't jump ahead.
I'll tell you what, though. Go ahead. Go ahead. Keep talking.
I honestly feel like it was nice to have him, Isaiah, Rudy Gay, and Boogie all score 20 points a game, and it was like they were in that little stretch they had all 3 of them on the court. They were in the top 5 in the league in scoring with if you can with 3 men. And my whole thing is like it's nice to have a point guard who can score 20 points, but for a guy who gives up 20 to 25 on defense, who didn't really give you the assist and all this kind of stuff, I felt like the Kings need a lockdown defender / distributor, and Grievous was not that. That failed, and he was probably our most like true point guard in a while. Since maybe Bibby? I mean, you can call Bibby a scorer too, though.
Right. Honestly, and this is crazy, and a lot of people do not agree with me on this, but if Gravis Vasquez was an option to come back healthy, and we got the Gravis that played the second half of the season and in the playoffs, and we could get him at the salary he was at last year, $3 or $4 million a year, for like a 1 or 2 year deal, I think I would take that player. If we're able to sign and trade Isaiah and get a valuable piece for Isaiah. Because I think Gravis would be a very good learning piece for McCallum.
Now, what do you think about the possibility of using Isaiah as like possible trade with the 8 and trading him to Boston for Rondo, or they just let Isaiah walk and they use probably Ben McLemore and the 8 to Boston for Rondo, or how do you feel about Rondo coming?
If we get healthy Rondo, I'm all for it. If we get last year and a half Rondo, it's.
Well, I mean, he's played 58 games in the last 2 years, and he's coming off an ACL,
And the reason why, I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, he can't stay healthy. He came back early. He tried to come back for what they thought was going to be a really good roster in Boston. He rushed back and got re-hurt, so I don't really consider him injury prone like a lot of people are saying he is. I would take Rondo if it means like. If we could get a good piece and not have to give up too much for him, I think that would work out a lot. I honestly think that with him being a 1 year deal left on 1 year left on his deal into 2015, I honestly think that I don't know that we would need to give up Isaiah with a sign and trade to get him. It might be something where, like you said, we could do Ben and the number and then the number 8, or even a number 8 in like Jason Terry or Jason Thompson. I think we could send out for Rondo.
It just seems like honestly that that Pete D'Alessandro does he made his decision a long time ago where he just wasn't comfortable with the eighth pick, that he didn't think that anybody who can fall to 8 is where he wants to be moving forward. And like, I respect that. He knows more than I do, and the whole analytic thing, it's way over my head. Like, I mean, I got a degree for computer programming, and I'm looking at all this analytic stuff, and I'm just like, dude, what? Like, I mean,
Right.
it's almost like, Billy Bean with the A's and the whole, like, looking beyond on the field and stuff like that. You're looking at numbers and stuff, and it's huge, but there just must be that little void right now in who they feel like will fall at 8 that they don't feel like will fit. Because when in the mock draft they have us getting McDermott, and I know that the Bulls really want him for some reason, and they're willing to move up with us, and it's just, that's what's fascinating. Is like, you got the Bulls who are trying to move up with this, and what Taj Gibson's being thrown around. Then you
If we get
have,
Tosh Gibbs, I'll be pissed. If we could get Jimmy Butler in that deal, I'd be happy.
and I know your co-host loves DJ Augustine. I didn't know he was a free agent. I would have loved somehow if they could have threw DJ Augustine and Taj Gibson in there, because I would have loved DJ Augustine. He had
Oh,
a great year.
if we could get Augustine, that would be a
That would
slam
have to be a
dunk.
sign and trade, obviously, or something.
So here's the thing about Chicago, and I've been throwing Chicago out as a suitor for Isaiah since the trade deadline last year. They wanted Isaiah before Rose got hurt again. There was rumors that they had contacted the Kings about Isaiah, but they weren't able to put together a big enough package. If we could somehow work out a sign and trade to do, like an Isaiah for Augustine, and like swap the 8 with the 16 or the 19, and throw another piece in there. Like, the way Pete D'Alessandro's mind works, that dude's insane. Like, I've talked to him on numerous occasions, like one-on-one, just kind of candidly.
Yeah.
The first time was up in Reno when we all went up to a Bighorns game. He was up there.
Nice.
I talked to him at the airport a little bit before Rudy got there, and that dude just has a way of thinking about things. And I know he could throw something together that's going to be crazy. I would love to have DJ Augustine as our point guard here, even more so than Rondo.
And the only reason why I'm throwing that out there is because of the whole Bulls thing, trying to move up, and just obviously right now Bulls with Carmelo and how huge. Were you shocked when you heard LeBron was opting out today? Were you
No,
shocked?
not at all.
I think it was like earlier on this week or late last week. I was listening to Mike and Mike, and basically, is it Brian Windhorst? I butchered his name. I think he's been following LeBron since high school, and he basically said that he knew this was going to happen. He knew that LeBron was going to opt out, and basically for leverage to get Miami to, like, get the other two big three, and then get Miami to make some moves, because he's just not happy with that roster, and they were so exposed by San Antonio, and San Antonio just played such a team game and just exposed.
Miami has no bench. I mean, it's sad
not at all.
when the Kings actually have a deeper bench than Miami does.
Right?
But I've been telling people, like, on our show, I've been going through it a lot, that I was very clear that my feeling on it was, if the Heat won the championship, there's no way in hell LeBron leaves.
No, not at all.
For 4.
Not at all.
If they lost, which they obviously did, I saw LeBron opting out. Now, I don't necessarily think he may leave. I mean, he may stay around. It's all going to depend on what Dwayne Wade wants to do. I don't think Bosch is a big factor in it at all. I think it's what Wade decides to do.
The only rumor I heard about Bosch is that Dallas really wants him. I mean,
And
that's
that's
the
his
only thing.
hometown, and I heard he doesn't want to play there. He wants to stay in Miami. So, I've been putting this out on Twitter, and it's really been ruffling people's feathers, and I love it, because people just think I'm an idiot, and I don't care.
People think you're an idiot. You know what they think? Come on.
I've been saying it since the end of the finals. I said the Miami Big Three are going to break up. Melo was going to opt out, which he obviously did. You got a lurker.
That's
I saw Melo going to Chicago. Or I'm sorry, I changed that. I had Wade going to Chicago to play for his hometown before he retires.
Really?
LeBron going to either Houston or Cleveland. I have Melo going to either one of the LA teams, and Chris Bosh staying in Miami. And that was my prediction for the 4. And Isaiah Thomas going to New York.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Isaiah is really reaching and only getting $4 to $5 million? if LeBron does stay with Miami and does his contract, and Wade redoes his contract, and can you imagine if like an Isaiah Thomas goes to a Miami?
Jesus.
How sick that would be. But anyways, I honestly feel like I really think that, which I don't think he fits there. I think Carmelo will end up in Chicago.
So
And there's a sick little feeling like, can you imagine if somehow LeBron James goes to Chicago? And I know it doesn't fit him because it's like, why do you want to go to the house that Jordan basically built and try to basically, after being linked to him and all this, I mean, do you really want to be that individual? I don't know. I don't know what to think. We know that LeBron's not coming to Sacramento. It's fun to flirt around with that.
Right.
I don't think he will go back to Cleveland this early. I think he will end his career in Cleveland, but I don't think he'll go there because he really has championship in built in him, and I don't think Cleveland's gonna, even if they draft Jabari Parker, who, which I find it's very funny that it's funny when you look at NBA teams try to lose games on purpose to win ping pong balls so they can win the lottery, and then you get guys like Jabari Parker who literally has been rumored to get fat on purpose and look bad at his tryout, so he
Milwaukee would
to be avoided from being drafted by Cleveland because he doesn't want to go to Cleveland. But what I'm getting at is even if they drafted Cleveland, or even if Cleveland drafts Jabari Parker, do you really think that? I mean, that lineup looks nice with Irving and LeBron and Jabari Parker, but I guess who's their young kid they have? I guess he's not getting along with Irving. I forgot his name, but they're talking about trading him, and
I think the only way that LeBron really would have went to Cleveland at this point would have been if Joel Embiid stayed healthy and they had a big center there.
Yes.
I mean, if you think about that roster, it would have been Embiid, Varejao, and Anthony Bennett, LeBron, Dion Waiters, and Kyrie Irving, and then you have Jarrett Jack in the mix. And you have Luol Deng still sitting there. You know, you still have a really good roster at that point. But
Dion Waiters.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I just don't know that without Embiid, LeBron returns to Cleveland just yet. I just don't think it's the right piece for him. And I don't know if you saw too about Embiid with his foot.
Let me ask you something.
Milwaukee came out today and said they will not draft him at number 2.
That's what I want to ask you. I want to get because I was waiting to see if you were going to put out one of your podcasts or one of your shows to see what you think. Of course, I got beat up on the whole idea. If Embiid fell to number 8, I want to know your opinion on what you would do. Would you draft him knowing that he has already had a back problem and he's had a stress fracture in his back? He missed the Big 12 championship. He missed the March Madness championship. And now he comes out and he has a foot problem. The same thing that's I understand he's 19. I understand it's not the same. Okay, Yao Ming had the problem.
Yep.
His career ended early, 7 years. And then you have Bill Walton, who had back problems, and his career ended well. And we all know about Greg Oden, and this guy's 7 feet tall, 250 pounds. Do you really take a chance on someone like that, knowing he's already got 2 significant injuries at 19 years old?
The way I look at it is if Pete does his work and his due diligence prior to the draft, like let's say that deal with Josh Smith went down. They trade Jason Thompson, Jason Terry, and I don't remember who else was rumored. I don't think it was the 8 pick. That was a deal that was separate of the 8.
Yeah, no, that was totally just a wash of contracts.
For Josh Smith. So then you have DeMarcus, Josh Smith, Rudy, Ben, and then insert point guard here. And then they go out and they do a sign and trade with Isaiah, let's say with Boston, and they get Rondo or they get Green or another good piece out of Boston. Or
I like Green.
Or Phoenix. Nice. Phoenix is right now linked to the 8th pick, or to the Isaiah market as well.
I would love Bledsoe.
Maybe a Bledsoe, maybe a Dragic, maybe someone else that could play the point.
I don't think Phoenix is. I think that they're sold on Dragic. I think he's staying, and that's why they're willing to get rid of Bledsoe.
Yeah, and Phoenix is too close to blow up the roster again. I mean, they blew up the roster last year, and it worked out for them. But let's say that Pete goes through, and he could do enough to where he could build up a good roster without moving the number 8. I think you look into taking Embiid at 8 if he falls. If you don't have those places in line and you haven't made those deals at the time of the draft, I think you have to move the 8th pick. You can't take a risk on another young player without having some vets on the roster.
Okay. My whole thing is like obviously Embiid will not be there at 8. So that conversation he's some team within the first obviously 7. Orlando has been linked to take a chance on him and even the 76ers joke around even though they got was it Noah or something last year or the guy they sat out for a year. They were even joking around saying that they could take a chance on someone like that if that talent was there because, they can just sit him out for a year.
Did you see what Cleveland is considering right now from Orlando?
Please let me. I didn't see it, but I know Cleveland's being crazy because I know Jabari Parker. They want Jabari. They're trying to say that they wanted Jabari Parker over Embiid from day one, but they have made mistakes last year on getting the one. So I'm willing to hear this.
Right now, apparently, according to multiple sources, and I'm looking at SI.com right now, Chad Ford, NBA Insider, is reporting it that the Cavs are currently considering moving the number 1 overall pick to Orlando in exchange for Orlando's number 4 pick, number 12 pick, and Aaron Aflalo.
Really?
Yeah, and they're actually considering it apparently. Like they haven't turned it down; they actually have it on the table and they're talking about it.
Wow.
If the Kings can somehow package the number 8 and let's say Isaiah or another player to Orlando for Aaron Aflalo, I'd take that deal in a heartbeat.
I know a lot of people are huge on Aflalo, and I love that dude. I think he's really good, and I know that when he basically was put on the market for trade or put on the block for trade, I know our radio personalities and stuff like that were really favoring getting him here, and I really think that he is a player that you can insert at shooting guard and make a difference because I don't think Ben is truly ready at 19, 20 years old to be a starting shooting guard in this league. I think he still needs to learn, and I'm not fully given up on Ben McLemore. You cannot. Okay, I understand that we, as Kings fans, a lot of the Kings fans who are voicing their opinion on Twitters and social media and stuff were brought up in the Kings when they started that playoff runs and stuff like that. So they expect that because we kept our team, that right away with new management stuff, that it's supposed to change overnight. And it's going to be little steps like Ben McLemore is going to have to develop. Sometimes these players take 3 to 4 years.
Right.
And he basically played 1 year of college. And he showed flashes of this guy is going to be a really good. And it was nice to hear LeBron come out and say that this guy is a steal and for the Kings and stuff like that. And everybody got all excited. And he let everybody down. But you can't. I understand he's going to be a sexy pick through other teams because he does have value. So it is easy for some of us to go, yeah, trade him, because he has the most value on our team that's touchable, because Boogie's not touchable unless it's just the most ridiculous LeBron or someone just ridiculous that you would have to consider it. But Ben McLemore is probably, besides Isaiah, is probably the only player on that roster that's willing for other teams to want.
Yeah. Let me ask this. Do you bring this guy back?
You got to talk. Oh, jeez.
So, funny story about this. So, I went out and I bought this jersey last week.
I didn't even know you had one.
I bought it last week. I went up to the Folsom Outlets,
Uh-huh.
and the Sports Fever store up there had all former Kings players 55% off. Bought that jersey for $23. And I'm currently in the process of removing Fredette from the back. And I'm going to go to the arena, and I'm going to make a KJ jersey.
Attaboy.
But, yeah, $23, I bought that. The guy looked at me like I was insane. Why the hell are you buying a Jimmer jersey? I'm like, don't worry about it. I have a plan. But
I don't hate Jimmer Fredette. I really don't. I just think that he wasn't utilized on our team like he can be on a Miami or somebody where all he needs to do is spot up in the corner and just let someone pass it to him and just shoot. He's not an NBA point guard. He's too small to be a starting shooting guard. But I mean, look at how successful Redick is and stuff like that. And Redick, all he does is just needs to spot up and shoot. He doesn't really go to the hole and do anything crazy. He just spots up and shoots for the Clippers. So I feel like when we used him not the way that I think like a Spurs or some championship team or playoff team who just needs a guy to come off the bench. I mean, Bulls got him, and I thought he would have fit well in the Bulls, but they just didn't even play him. They barely
Yeah,
used him, and
played 7 minutes total this whole time,
yeah.
which
So
I
I
think
don't
is
know.
ridiculous. But so I'm looking at Sports Illustrated now, and they have their mock draft 4.0 up. They have Wiggins going 1, Parker going 2, Dante Exum going 3, Vonleh going 4, Aaron Gordon 5, Joel Embiid falling to 6 to Boston, Marcus Smart going 7, and then Julius Randle going to the Kings. And then they got Doug McDermott going 9 to Charlotte, and then Saric going 10. But, you know, unfortunately, I mean, it's so hard to get wrapped up in mock drafts. I hate reading them. I
I know.
hate seeing what people think because
They
every day it's
change.
different.
Yeah.
Every day there's a new rumor, and Embiid getting hurt completely threw that apart. Let me ask you this: if the Kings do sit on number 8 and they do draft someone at number 8, what's your ideal pick? Like, do you go for best available? Do you address a need? I mean, do you have a player in mind? What would you do if you were Pete?
Right now, what I hope would happen is, for some reason, because of where we are at 8, is I would be hoping that a Marcus Smart or an Aaron Gordon would be in that little range. I know Aaron Gordon is too small to be a power forward, and we don't really need him to play small forward,
Right.
but he has such freakish abilities and skills, and even though he's an undersized power forward, the dude can play and defend the rim. Marcus Smart only because I feel like the only down thing besides his head case is that he can't shoot, and I feel like if with the right coaching and stuff like that, you can help someone develop a better shot. You can't teach them to play defense and basketball IQ more, and I feel like he does been given. I don't know what his plus and minus is and what's his what's good about him on paper. I just know from things that I've heard is that besides his head case, that they give him a lot of compliments of his basketball IQ.
Right. I've
And
heard that a lot about him as well.
yeah, I
Hold on
mean
just a
him.
sec. My kid's
Yeah.
begging for the iPad.
Okay, but I don't know, man. I just honestly feel like
I'm coming.
with the way everything's set up, dude, I I honestly don't think the
No,
Kings.
stop it. Go away.
I don't think the Kings are gonna. I honestly feel like the Kings are gonna trade that 8 pick. I don't feel like they're gonna draft somebody this year.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to draft anyone necessarily either. I would like to see a good player come in, but we're too young. We have way too much of a young roster, and we have a young coaching staff.
What was your thoughts when the whole Josh Smith thing broke today?
Man, if Smith could stay at the 4 and not have to play any 3, I'm cool with it. I saw a lot of people on Facebook and Twitter that were like, "Oh, he takes too many threes. He missed too many threes." I pulled up the stat. He made 70 of 265 three-pointers last year, like 23%. So I was like, you know what? The only way I'm okay with him being a King is if they implement something in his contract that says he's going to be fined $500 for every missed 3. If you base that on last year's numbers, he missed 195 three-pointers. That's $97,500 he would have been fined last year. And with the amount of money he made, didn't he make like a 4-year, $60 million deal last year?
Yeah, he got a ridiculous amount of money, dude.
Like that kind of money doesn't hurt him, but at the same time, just knowing that at the end of the year you're writing a check for almost $100,000 because you can't shoot, maybe it'll force him not to shoot. But he's a rim protector, he's a rebounder, he's a good defender.
Dude had a good career in Atlanta. Like he was around 16 and 7 and 8, and he was always a good defender.
Detroit experimented last year with him. They moved him to the 3 and it failed.
Yeah. I don't take his whole Detroit. Like I'm looking at Josh Smith in Atlanta, like where his career was in Atlanta. I don't consider him the Detroit, player that we're getting. Yeah, we're gonna get the Josh Smith from Detroit, meaning like a very, how should I say it? He's got so much talent. I just feel like he was just in a bad spot, and I feel like if we're talking about JT for Josh Smith straight up, even though that we're going to have a higher paid player for more years, I would do it just because you're basing it on looking at those two guys, and you're still keeping the 8. and you're still dumping contracts. You're getting rid of JT's contract. You're getting rid of Jason Terry's contract, and you're bringing in a guy who has more skills than those guys and who could help us right away.
Yeah, so I don't know if you saw it or not, but at one point the news broke. Mark Stein broke the news that the deal was in works, and then someone else, Draft Express, came out and said the deal died in the morning. And then ESPN came back out and said the deal's back underway. Carmichael Dave went on Twitter and said deals never die, whatever. Yeah. From what I read just most recently, there's talks that it could be a JT and Carl Landry talk for Josh Smith's contract.
Okay.
Which obviously would help the Kings because that's 2 huge contracts. Earlier I mentioned what it was. It was Derek Williams, Jason Terry, and Jason.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was Derek Williams.
But any one of those scenarios, I'm okay with Josh Smith if he plays the 4. And that parlays Rondo is what everyone's saying as well. Because
I know because they were best friends. Yeah, and they were best friends. And okay, so let's put in perspective that we're losing Isaiah.
Right.
Let's say that. I mean, do we? Okay. Who are we losing to go to Boston then? Is it Ben? Is it Ben in 8, or is it Isaiah sign and trade in an 8? Because that makes a difference with the roster. Because I didn't read Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons had a whole thing today about. Let me see real fast while you talk. Then
I don't know if Rondo can pull enough to get the 8 and Ben and Isaiah. Like a lot of that.
Okay, the way Ben has it, the way Bill Simmons has it, and he did that little trade machine. He has Detroit Pistons getting Jason Thompson, Jason Terry, Quincy Acey. The Kings get Josh Smith and Rajon Rondo, and Boston gets Derek Williams, Ben McLemore, and Isaiah Thomas.
I'm okay with all of that except for AC, honestly.
I like AC.
I like AC a lot, and I like Ben.
So basically, Josh Smith gets $13.5 million for 4 years. Rondo gets $12 million for 2 years, and we're basically giving Jason Thompson for 4 years for five a year. Jason Terry gets 2 years for $5 a year. Quincy Acey only makes $768,000, but.
So and the 8 we keep.
Yeah, there's nothing on here about an 8.
So in that case, then.
And you get to keep the 8.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the draft, and the prospects. The only way that makes sense is if the Kings somehow can find a way to move up and get one of the better. Dante Exum would be a decent 2 guard.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to go top 5. And
you almost have to look at a shooting guard right there.
Yeah, and the rest of the guys, other than Smart, who's a point guard, is almost all forwards except for Wiggins.
How tall is McDermott? Is he a tall guy? Okay, so then he's basically your small forward. But okay, now what if you win?
What if you move Rudy to the 2?
That's what I was gonna say. That's huge. That's a huge lineup. But can Rudy cover? More athletic, smaller 2s? Can he keep up with them? Who are you gonna put at 3 then?
If you draft McDermott, McDermott at 3.
McDermott, or if Aaron Gordon fell, you would have
Or do you try to look at drafting best available on the board and getting rid of those contracts? Yeah, you're going to bring in Rondo and Smith that are big money.
There's no way we can afford
a lot of money.
But what about Nick Young?
I don't want that guy anywhere near our organization. I don't even want him in the building when he's on other teams. Swaggy P can stay away from here. But what about Avery Bradley's unrestricted. Augustine's unrestricted.
Shumpert opted out, right? I think Shumpert.
Yeah, Shumpert's going to be available. Yeah. Jimmer's out there. Kyle Lowry is going to be unrestricted.
That's the only way I can see Rondo wanting to come here is if there is a Josh Smith here.
And the good thing, too, though, is if you bring in those players, Gravis Vasquez, he's going to be available to run the point as well. If you could get let me write this down because my brain is already fuzzy. So with that deal, you'd have DeMarcus at center. You'd have
Yeah.
Smith at the 4. That puts Gay at the 3, possibly the 2. So you need a 2 guard, and then you have Rondo at point, right? If
Yeah.
you
So
draft,
basically, you don't have a two guard right now.
if you draft McDermott, and you can put him as backup 3, because you lost Ben. You got Raymack at the 2.
Let's somehow try to get Lance Stevenson, who's an unrestricted. Yeah,
I
you
don't
got
know.
Avery Bradley. You got Avery Bradley, Vince Carter, Nick Young, Rodney Stuckey, Ray Allen, Jody Meeks, Alan Anderson, and Cephalosha
Or do you try to package something together with, say, an expiring deal? I don't know if we have any expirings after that happens, but let's say we
right there in that trade. There's no Carl Landry involved in that, right? It was Quincy Acey instead.
Right. Let's say that Aaron Afalo deal with Cleveland falls through, and they want to move up. If we could somehow
trade
package
the 8 for a follow,
8 and
try to get a second round. I mean, I don't know if they'll give us their 16 for it, will they?
8 for the 16 maybe. There's also, Aaron Gray's not going to fetch anything.
No.
But okay, what about this? What about the 8 and Travis Outlaw's expiring deal?
There you go.
Or an Afalo, or another good 2 guard, or move back in the draft to like a 12 and get a second rounder and get that kid that's out of Northern California that they're super high on.
But can you imagine if they did do that? So if Bill Simmons trade, which I don't think that would really go through, but if that did happen, where we wouldn't have to give up our 8, so we get Rondo and we get Josh Smith. We gave up our number 2, so we don't have a shooting guard, but we still have an 8th pick, and Orlando wants to move up. So then we can just, like you said, we can package Outlaw and our 8 and get a follow.
And the 16 or the 12.
I wouldn't even be pissed if we didn't even get the 16.
Just to get a follow.
We just got a follow, and then maybe got a second round or something like that.
I would be okay with the 8 and Outlaw for a second rounder and a follow. I really would, because we could get a serviceable player in the second round.
It's not a bad lineup.
And it would not be a bad lineup at all.
That's at least. I mean, it's easy for us to say at least, but that's at least an 8 seed.
Yeah, and then at the same time too is what we got to remember is the only way we're going to get free agents here is if we have a good looking roster. If you bring a free agent and say, look, our starting lineup is DeMarcus Cousins, Josh Smith, Rudy Gay, Aaron Afalo, Rajon Rondo, with Ray McCallum and Doug McDermott coming off the bench. Or I'm sorry, we wouldn't have McDermott because we got rid of the 8. But Ray McCallum. We still got Royce. Not Royce White. Willie Reed under contract. AC would be gone in that deal. We have Landry as a backup for Aaron Gray. He's terrible, but he's there.
Yeah.
That might open the door for free agents to say, you know what, I want to be a part of this. Let's see if we can get some mid-level veteran guys to come in here and be willing to play.
Yeah, I mean, I would like that lineup. That just for some reason that looks a lot better if we had Rondo, a follow. So then you have Gay. Then you have Smith, and then Boogie.
We still have Jared Cunningham on the bench, who's terrible too. Willie Reed. That's it. I mean, there's not a lot of.
So basically, I said if Bill Simmons' move goes through, we have 8 still. So we then trade that with Outlaw to Orlando for a follow. So we'd have Rondo, a follow, Gay, Smith, and DeMarcus Cousins.
And then we can re-sign Reggie Evans to a cheap deal. I like Reggie Evans a lot.
Oh, I love Reggie Evans.
He's going to be a free agent. Sign him to a veterans minimum. Terrible after Aaron Gray. He keeps popping up.
You love Aaron Gray. That's your next jersey.
Right. I don't know if I'm going to buy a 33.
Get that for $11.
Right. I might have to. They might have to just give me that one. I can honestly though. I mean, this for me is the most excited I've been for an off season since that year we got Vlade and Weber. Or we signed Vlade, got Doug Christie, traded for Weber in that off season.
Yeah.
Um, I just haven't been that excited for this team. What worries me though is all of this makes this team way better. But look at the moves some of the teams in the West are looking to make right now. Like, let's say Isaiah goes to the Lakers, and somehow that huge deal right now that they're talking about with Kevin Love and Kevin Martin going to Golden State
Yeah. Supposedly, I
for
heard that
Embiid
died
and
off because, beside, I think it's the Klay Thompson thing. I think finally the Warriors are
right.
thinking twice about trading Klay, but
There's a lot of. I mean, if Houston gets LeBron, I mean, if the Lakers somehow get Melo or Wade or someone to play with Kobe to make him happy for a little bit, the West is going to be that much better. I mean, Tim Duncan just decided he's not going to retire. He opted into his final year of his deal with San Antonio.
takes
So
a huge pay cut.
yeah, their core is going to be intact. They're going to get some veteran player. I would not be surprised if Vince Carter signs with San Antonio this offseason.
Yeah.
Try to get his ring.
How pissed is Tracy McGrady right now?
He got a. Oh yeah, he did not get the ring last year, did
Didn't
he?
get the ring,
Yeah,
no.
he's playing baseball. He's good.
he's, he's like, dude, my ERA sucks right now. I didn't get a title.
How pissed are you right now if you're Mark Jackson?
Yeah.
You take the job with New York. The first thing
Yeah.
that happens when you're the new coach is Melo's like, I'm out.
Oh, and you know Derek Fisher.
Oh, that's what I meant. I'm sorry, Derek
Yeah.
Fisher.
I don't think Mark Jackson has a job. What's confusing to me is you have guys like you have George Karl, you have Hollins, two very good coaches without jobs, and you got the Warriors who took a chance with Kerr, and then now New York's taking a chance with Derek Fisher, and I understand where the Derek Fisher fits in because Phil Jackson wanted someone to basically coach through, and with George
Well,
Karl and Hollins, they have their own kind of game plans.
and Phil Jackson basically had Derek Fisher coaching that team anyways,
Yeah.
as when he was with the Lakers. So I mean,
Well,
that was
we all know that Phil Jackson's coaching the Knicks. It's just without having to travel and without
right.
having to sit on the bench.
I think they just have like a wired-in earbud into Mark Jackson, or I keep saying that, into Derek Fisher's head. Yeah, and I don't understand why like you said, why some of these first-year coaches are getting. I think like an Elson Turner or a Mario Ellie, like some of those guys that have been on benches forever,
Yeah, exactly.
would have been a way better fit to give them a first shot. You know, they've done their due diligence, they've done their path to get there. I think Steve Kerr's going to do terrible in Golden State. I don't think Derek Fisher's going to do very well. I think he's going to get a year or two into that 5-year deal, and Phil Jackson's going to be back on the bench.
See, I think Steve Kerr would have been a perfect fit for New York because basically it was the same kind of thing. It was going to be coached through Phil Jackson. And you had nothing to lose. You knew your team was going to blow up, so you can just kind of, like, we're going to win like 13 to 20 games. Who cares? But is that your kid or mine? I think it's your kid, right?
Yeah, she's asking for a hair tie.
Oh, go ahead.
Ask Mom. I don't know where they are.
Yeah, I'm just confused. I mean, Warriors, I don't think Mark Jackson's fault for what happened to them. I mean, I don't think he was like the main problem, but they were missing their center. They were just, they faced a better team. Like they weren't there yet. They're young, and Mark Jackson was a good coach. So I was confused about getting rid of him and going with an unproven coach with Steve Kerr. But if they do somehow land Kevin Love, it's a nice little lineup, but for some reason I don't think that puts them over the top. I think that Kevin Love being on, if he were to go to Chicago, because that's who Derrick Rose supposedly wants. Derrick Rose wants him over Carmelo, and I can totally understand. And if Derrick Rose is anywhere close to being what he used to be, and somehow they can get rid of Boozer and they can get LeBron James and Carmelo on that team, and that's basically a big four, I can't see Chicago losing at all.
Yeah, but is Derrick Rose ever going to be Derrick Rose again?
Exactly. I don't know. Like did. He basically sat out a full year, came back, got hurt,
Yeah,
and now
instantly. He played like
yeah,
what, 8 games last year, 9 games
yeah.
last year.
And it took him a minute to get going too, because when he first started off, he didn't look as good, and then he started getting his legs back, and then it was just like boom, it happened. And he just seems to me like one of those players that is a lot scared of injuries and stuff like that. That he's going to be so timid on that leg that something's going to happen again,
Yeah,
or
he's
he's going
never
to
been hurt in his whole
yeah,
career, whole
yeah.
life, and then he gets hurt, and you could tell it mentally it just killed him. And he babied it, and he was too slow to get back, and that's why he hurt his other leg, because he didn't prepare properly.
Yeah.
And that sucks, because I really like Derrick Rose. I
I
just
do
don't
too.
think he's gonna be. I don't think he's ever gonna be where he was.
The NBA needs Derrick Rose. The NBA, dude, he was an MVP. He was off the charts. He was unbelievable to watch. He was fun to watch, and it sucked. And you could tell he wasn't in the league. Like that year, he was gone. I mean, Chicago still did their thing because Thibodeau is a great coach and stuff, but they obviously missed him. And I, as a fan, want to see Derrick Rose back. And I don't know. I feel like that's Carmelo's landing point. I don't even want to speculate where I think LeBron's going, because he could just be doing this to F around with everybody just to get Miami to make better moves. And Pat Riley's in that front office, and I don't think he's going to New York. I don't think it's a ploy to get both.
New
I
York's
don't.
terrible. They're not gonna get anybody. They're in a full rebuild.
Supposedly New York and Phil Jackson has plans, and he's already leaked it out that he's setting up to try to get Durant there. He seems to think that he's going to be able to get Durant in a couple years to go to New York.
Wow.
So, but I like what we were saying, dude. I honestly like if that somehow can go through where we can get Josh Smith, Rondo, still keep the 8, turn around and trade that 8 to Orlando, and not necessarily have to get a 16 back, but trade the 8 to Orlando and a sign and trade, because is he a free or is he still under contract to follow? Either way, get trade our outlaw with the 8 and get a follow in that team. That is a nice little core team, and like you said, you have not probably the best bench, but you got a nice little young bench, and you can probably put in some extra pieces on that bench.
And there's appeal for people to actually want to play here with that kind of roster.
I mean that's got to be a playoff roster, right?
It's got to be
On
close.
paper.
It's got to be close to the 8.
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about?
My only question for you was when you heard the news about Rudy, did you think that he was ever going to leave? Like, do you ever think he was going to walk away from
No.
19 million?
No. I remember hearing it on your show too. I think you basically said that there's just no way you're walking away from $19 million.
That's been Eddie's thing. He's been saying that since day. He has that stupid face cutout that we had at the final game of the season, and he does his like almost Mike Tyson voice to Rudy Gay every single time. And and he was right. There's no way he was going to walk away from that kind of money.
There's
But
none.
let me ask you this: when they start talking July 1st about long-term deal, there were some reports saying that Rudy's going to want 4 years, $60 million.
Wow.
Do you think he's more or less going to get the 4-year, 48 or so that Andre Iguodala got, or where do you think Rudy Gay sets himself at as far as the contract goes?
He played well for the games. I don't know, how many games did he play for the Kings? 20 something, 30, 20?
No, he was in the 40s, I think.
40s? Okay. During the 40 games, he averaged over 20 points a game.
Right.
He shot way better than he shot in Toronto. I understand why when he went to Toronto he was just so disgruntled, because he had a good thing going in Memphis. Memphis was a playoff team. It was almost like blindsided that they got rid of him.
Yep.
So you go to Toronto and it's like, who was in Toronto? So I can see where that was. But honestly, I don't know if he's worth 4 years, $60 million. He has to have a great couple games to start the year to decide if they're going to use him as trade bait or keep him.
Do you go 4-year, 48 like Andre Iguodala got? I mean, you're going to have, if you're going to want to keep him, around for the long term to be in the new building, to be a centerpiece with DeMarcus, you're going to have to essentially overpay for him. You're going to have to pay him a little bit more than what he's worth.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if 4-year 50 or 4-year 48 like Iguodala got, or something is going to be more of his ballpark.
Man, it's hard. I like Rudy Gay. He's still young. Did he play well because he knew? I mean, he didn't have to play like he did for Sacramento because he had that 19.3 million. This would be the year that he needs to prove himself to get that next big contract. I know he's going to play out of his mind this year. He seems to be a good team player. He seems to fit with Malone. They have a good rapport. He likes DeMarcus. It seems like they have a good rapport.
He doesn't want Isaiah back, from what I've read into a little bit.
He doesn't want Isaiah back?
From a lot of things I read into, he says that he wants a pass first point guard around.
Which I think a lot of people do.
That was something I brought up on, I believe, on our last show, or it may have just been in small talk with some friends. Do you think that there's any chance in hell that when Vivek and Chris Mullin and Mitch Richmond and Pete D'Alessandro, all those guys met up with Rudy last week, when they sat down at dinner and they asked him, what's something that you want, do you think there was any chance that he said, I want you guys to work on moving Isaiah Thomas out of town and bringing me a real point guard?
See, I don't know if he would really go that. I mean, this is first to me that I heard that he might have any kind of problem with.
I don't
Isaiah.
think it's a problem with Isaiah per se. It's just the style of point guard.
I know that him and Malone were talking when the finals were coming on. I guess they texted each other or called each other and basically were like, "This is what we need to do to be, moving forward and stuff like that." So yeah, maybe he did. Maybe they did ask him, "How do you see things? What would you like to see in Sacramento for you to stay here and want to stay with us long term?" Yeah, maybe he did mention something. I don't know if he necessarily said, "I want Isaiah out." Maybe he said something like, "Well, first of all, as much as I respect Isaiah's game, we need a more first, like a pass first defensive point guard." He might have mentioned something like that. I don't see that being like crazy talk, but I don't see him going like calling shots like, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to keep my 19.3 million, but the only way I'm going to stay is if you just get rid of Isaiah."
Right.
But he could. I'm not taking away.
That's just a thought that I had in my head. Like, it kind of popped up because like Isaiah's never been mentioned as a focal point at all this offseason. It's been Rudy since day one.
Yeah.
And then right when Rudy decided to opt in, or right when he got close to opting in, they put out the information and said, we're going to match anything reasonable for Isaiah up to $4 million or up to $6 million, but then nothing more than that.
Which is crazy to me that they did put so much effort and love into Rudy Gay when it's like I think most of us knew that he was gonna not opt out and keep that 19.3 million, because that's a lot of money. That's more than LeBron a year. That's a lot of money to give up. And I mean, I'm not saying that we should have been more focused on Isaiah, but it was surprising to me that like you said, it did seem like everything was focused more on get Rudy Gay to stay, make sure he doesn't opt out. And then after everything went down like he was staying, then it was like, let's focus on Isaiah now. And I'm honestly surprised that he, through Sam Amick and stuff, that around the league, that he's not being anywhere offered around the 8 to 10 mark or 7 to 9. I'm surprised that it's 4 to 5.
Exactly. I'm thinking it's going to be between 8 and 10. Honestly, that's my gut feeling.
And I don't think if there's no sign and trade, I don't think the Kings can sign him. I don't think they will sign him.
They won't be able to.
I don't think they value him at an $8 to $10 million player a year.
He's not a starting point guard in the eyes of the Kings. I don't think he's a backup, and you can't pay a backup that kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this before I gotta call it a night here.
Yeah.
What are you doing for the draft? Are you going to one of the draft parties?
Planning on going. I don't think I can make it to the soccer game at Republic, but I think I will try to make it to the draft party like I did a couple years. Last year was at the actual Kings arena. I think I'm going to try to go to is it the Republic? Is where they're having it this year?
No, the Republic just have a game. Oh, at Republic, it's at Firestone.
Oh, Firestone. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. Yeah, Firestone. I think I'm going to try to make it out to there.
Nice.
Are you going?
I'm not even going. I'm going to be at a concert down in Orangeville.
Keith Sweat?
Yeah, I'm going to go see him.
Keith Sweat TLC?
No, I'm going to be going to see Seth's Crew. It's a
Nice.
It's an independent artist from Tech Nine's label.
Okay.
So I'll be out there. So
Yeah, I think I'll be out there if I can get
when
out
things go
there.
down, text me. Let me know what's going on.
Oh, dude,
Uh,
I definitely will, man. I appreciate you honestly coming on tonight, and even though we have our own kind of podcast and stuff like that, I appreciate you coming on to mine. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about it because there's like 2 days left, and there's no way I was going to be able to do my normal show on Thursday night, and I just
right.
kind of wanted, with everything that was going on, I just wanted to talk to somebody about it because it just feels like there's so much chaos going on, and it seems like Sacramento was involved in so much stuff today about trading 8, getting Josh Smith, Rondo, and it just seemed like so much stuff was going on, and I just want to talk about it. But I
Well, let
appreciate
me
you
ask you
coming on.
one last question. Um,
7 inches.
from the floor. Um, bench players that are on the roster currently. Name who's the one you think is gone on draft night.
Involved in trade?
Yep.
Well, it seems like JT's contract is the most, like, the amount of money that we're paying him, and it's not that much per year. It seems like he's the most sign and trade or tradable bait off the bench for us. I don't know if Carl Landry would be up there because, I mean, who starts right now if Josh Smith doesn't come here?
I
I
hope
mean,
it's Landry.
is it a healthy Landry? So I mean, I would say JT. I would say that I feel like JT is the last name player from the Maloof era and last King player that is not. Okay, let's get it. Okay, let's. JT would fit so well for a playoff slash some kind of championship team off the bench. He would fit so well because he does contribute. Like, he's a 10 and 10 sometimes when he comes off the bench or when he's a starter. But for our team who's trying to grow and stuff like that, he doesn't fit in for this team anymore. And it's sad because he's played well enough to deserve almost to be on a playoff team. I feel like he never really got disgruntled. He never talked trash about the business or about the team and the organization. He always came in and he played, and I never liked his arguments and his always with the refs and stuff. But he did give 100%. It seemed like every night, even though he couldn't hit a fucking free throw. But I would say JT. Who would you say?
I'm gonna go with Outlaw.
No, well, yeah. Well, I mean JT. I mean you got Jason Terry too, but I guess I was thinking more of the piece that I think a team would really want off the bench that's tradable.
I
Because I
think
mean,
Outlaw is valuable because he's an expiring deal.
yeah,
And I really think we can hopefully get a second round pick from somewhere. And I don't think Jason Terry is going to be enough to get a second round pick. I think he's going to be a package to make contracts match.
yeah,
And then he'll probably be like a release player to be either retire or be released to sign somewhere that he really wants to play for. So I
yeah,
don't think that works. Quincy AC doesn't make enough to warrant a second round pick. That kind of expiring deal for $780,000 doesn't appeal to anybody. I mean, the rookie that comes in at the second round pick is probably going to make just under that anyways. Outlaw's at like 4 or 5 million next season, so that's a great expiring deal to hopefully get a second rounder for.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, you're probably right. I mean, that sounds like the most reasonable, but I feel like because maybe JT's been linked to most of these moves so far, that it's easy to say JT. So, but anyways, it's 11 o'clock. We just want to come on for an hour. I am planning on doing another one tomorrow. I don't know. Deuce joked around and said that he would be on tomorrow. He couldn't do it tonight because he was writing a blog and doing all that stuff. So if you're not busy tomorrow, if you want to come on and do another short one, it's up to you. You're always
Yeah,
welcome.
set me up. Let me know.
All right, dude. Thanks a lot. This is Greg Bull. He has his own podcast. You can get on iTunes. And what's the other? Is iTunes and what?
Uh,
Spotify?
Podomatic,
Okay, Podomatic.
or just straight from our website,
Yes.
sportstalk916.com.
Sports Talk 916, and it's good listening, a lot of information, a lot of Kings talk and all that kind of stuff. And I appreciate you coming on, dude.
Yeah, man.
Follow him on Twitter at Sports Talk 916 and at Mr. Chief 916. So
Yeah.
thank you, Greg.
We'll talk soon, bud.
All right, guys. Thank you for everybody for if you did watch this or if you do come back and watch this back. But thank you and have a good night.